let's just call it 5,500 for easy math. 5,500 times 10 residents, that's 55,000 coming in every single month. Your expenses are going to run around 35 grand for those 10 residents on an average home. That includes paying for your caregivers, your licensed administrator, food, electricity, cable, activities, business license renewal, liability insurance, you name it, all in, that's your cost. Mortgages these days, they're pretty pricey. I usually am seeing for a large home of this size, maybe $10,000. That leaves the owner and operator, you, $10,000 a month or $120,000 a year on a very average home. Most of these care homes, they're not charging $5,500. They're charging $6, $7, $8,000 a month. That's the average cost in a lot of markets. So it can only go up from there. But I always like to share a regular, basic, average example so people can still get excited, but know that the sky is the limit.
Welcome to the Mastering Real Estate podcast. This podcast is for real estate investors and professionals looking to take their real estate game to the next level. Each week, I review the industry's leading real estate books and break down the main lessons that you can apply to your life and business. Then, every other week, I review my own personal lessons learned from flipping over 100 houses and being a full-time real estate investor since 2018. Stay tuned each week so that we can all become masters of real estate together. Welcome back to the Mastering Real Estate podcast. This is episode 26, and today we are talking to the incredible Isabel Guarino. Isabel is the top influencer in senior housing in the U.S. and an absolute powerhouse businesswoman. Crazy enough, senior housing is one of the rarely discussed aspects of real estate investing, so I am beyond excited to bring Isabel on the podcast to teach us about how to incorporate senior housing into our investment portfolios. I'm your host, Maura McGraw. I've been a full-time real estate investor since 2018. I've managed over 100 flips, founded and grew a real estate investment firm, and now I'm a licensed real estate agent here in Alabama. I also live and work in the real estate industry every day. Today, I am honored to introduce our special guest, Isabel Guarino. Isabel Guarino is a remarkable figure in the senior housing industry. Isabel is a 2-time best-selling author and has been named one of the top influencers in senior housing. Her expertise and insights have been featured on prominent platforms such as Bigger Pockets, the Wealthy Way podcast, and Sales Disruptors. As the COO of the Residential Assisted Living Academy, Isabel is dedicated to spreading the powerful message of doing good and doing well, reaching hundreds and thousands of entrepreneurs and investors worldwide. Recognized as the nation's top coach and trainer for all things residential assisted living, or RAL, she continues to lead and inspire others in this vital industry. Join us as we explore Isabel's journey, insights, and incredible work she's done to revolutionize senior housing. This episode is packed with valuable lessons and inspiration from one of the most influential voices in the field. You don't want to miss it. Isabel, thank you so much for coming on the Mastering Real Estate podcast. I am so happy to have you here today.
Excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. Let's start with, can you tell us a little bit about your background, maybe where you grew up, how you got into real estate and residential assisted living and all your other various business ventures? I would love to hear where you came from and how you got to where you are today.
Yeah. So actually, my dad had been a real estate investor my whole life. So I always knew certain bits and pieces. He would teach us certain things, but I never really had an interest in it. I went to college, went other directions, had some other careers, and eventually found myself just really lost, wondering, what am I going to do? I don't know what my purpose is. And I noticed that my dad needed some help, some form of an assistant. I didn't know what he needed, but he needed help. He seemed stressed and I could be the girl for the job. So I asked him, like, hey, I'll quit my job and come be your assistant. And I don't know. Eventually, I maneuvered my way into the business and he let me be his assistant. There was three of us at the time. We grew the team to over 50 people. I, along the way, became the COO of Residential Assisted Living Academy. And we grew from just that one business to, gosh, I think there was four or five other businesses now at this point. So when my dad passed in 2021, it only made sense for me to carry that torch forward as I had been working so closely with him along the way. And that's really how I got started with our businesses and with specifically residential assisted living. It's been a beautiful journey because not only have I helped take over those businesses, but also his care homes literally seamlessly passed from him to me. And that's tough for businesses to do. It's been a really beautiful journey, and I'm blessed to have been here for the ride.
That is an amazing story. Sure he would be so proud to
Thank
see
you.
where you are today. So I've been in the real estate space for a little while, and I am so surprised that residential assisted living is not talked about very much when it comes to real estate investing. So, first, do you think you could just tell the audience a little bit like what is residential assisted living if they've never heard of it before? Because seriously, it doesn't get talked about very much in real estate investing, which is strange.
Yes, I agree. I think we're going to hear about it more and more in the upcoming years because I'm seeing more and more people come into the market or talk about it. But for sure, it's been one of these like silent categories for a while. And so, what it really is, it's a single family home being used for senior housing. So, let me back up. When I say single family, I don't mean a 3 bed, 2 bath, 1,200 square foot home, a luxury, upscale, beautiful home in a really nice part of town. So, still zoned residential, still in a regular neighborhood, but a luxury high end area. So 6 to 16 seniors in the home. They have 24/7 care with caregivers and a licensed administrator running all the day to day. What we do is we own the real estate and own the business, and we show other people how to do that too.
Amazing. Why do you think that this is not something that is talked about when people talk about common real estate investing strategies? To be honest, I started learning about this a few months ago, which is how I even found you and read your book, which is amazing. But why is this not something that is commonly thought about for real estate investors?
I think because there's the whole business component to it. It's similar to Airbnb in that it's not just real estate, right? It's the other side, which is that business side of it. But Airbnb is sexier, right? Seniors aren't that sexy, for lack of a better word. So I think people just, they're concerned. They don't know what liability is going to be involved. They think they need to be a professional, medical professional, I should say. They don't, there's a lot of what ifs and don't knows. And there wasn't anyone educating on this in the space when we got started 14 years ago when we bought our first care home. And 4 years later, we had so many people asking us, wait, what are you doing? How do I do it? It was like, okay, it's time for us to start educating on this because everybody was interested when they heard it. They're like, the cash flow is insane, but how do I even do this? How do I tangibly break it down step by step and make it happen? So, definitely, I think there's a growing market for this, and investors are starting to get piqued interest because single family investing is really tough these days. Like, it is hard to make a house cash flow with most other forms of our regular investing strategies that we've all done over the years. But with RAL, we're still cash flowing really well.
Yes. Okay. So if someone doesn't know about RALs, can you just give an overview or some examples of how well these properties cash flow and just how it works for someone who might not have any idea? And then I would love to get into a little bit about how do people even go about getting into this?
Yeah. So cash flow first, we'll cover that, right? The average cost of care in our country today is $5,350 per month per resident. And like I said earlier, you're typically having somewhere between 6 and 16 residents in the home. So I'm in Arizona, we're limited to 10 residents. Your state or your county will give you that limitation. And everywhere is different. It all falls somewhere between that 6 and 16. Let's just call it 5,500 for easy math. 5,500 times 10 residents, that's 55,000 coming in every single month. Your expenses are going to run around 35 grand for those 10 residents on an average home. That includes paying for your caregivers, your licensed administrator, food, electricity, cable, activities, business license renewal, liability insurance, you name it, all in, that's your cost. Mortgages these days, they're pretty pricey. I usually am seeing for a large home of this size, maybe $10,000. That leaves the owner and operator, you, $10,000 a month or $120,000 a year on a very average home. Most of these care homes, they're not charging $5,500. They're charging six, seven, $8,000 a month. That's the average cost in a lot of markets. So it can only go up from there. But I always like to share a regular, basic, average example so people can still get excited, but know that the sky is the limit.
Yeah, that's absolutely amazing. As someone who does a lot of regular single families, like that is an amazing cash flow, especially when you consider that it's just one property.
You don't have to have all these doors, all these tenants and toilets and unpaid rent and drama. It's just one door. And really, most of the responsibility is going to that licensed administrator. That's like a property manager in real estate world, right? So they're taking care of the hiring, the firing, the onboarding of your staff, your caregivers, as well as doing the marketing and doing the tours with the families. So they're helping get the residents in the door, doing their residency care agreements and all that good stuff so that they're signed up and staying in the home. And they're really taking care of everything else from contractors to payroll, all this different stuff. So I'm down to 5 hours a week on my 3 care homes. And that's what we show other people how to do too.
That is amazing. I want to hear more about this. So, if people are interested and they are wondering where do I get started? How do I get started with a residential assisted living home? How should they get started?
Yeah, so we show people literally A to Z. We have online trainings, we've got live trainings, we've got books, we've got all sorts of stuff. But really, the first thing you're going to do is find the demographic area that you want to go after. You want to be in an area where the majority population is 50 to 70 years old, upper middle class, making twice the median income. Once you've designated that area, you have to decide which of the four routes you're choosing to get started. Building from the ground up, converting a single family home, leasing a home to use for this, or buying an existing RAL. Once you know what you're doing, it's about raising the capital, getting your staff, and then marketing to fill the home. When you've done all that stuff, you're up and running. And then it's just maintaining and systemizing so that you can become more and more hands off.
That sounds awesome. I know it's not
No,
as
there
it
is so much
sounds.
involved.
Yes. What are some of the common challenges you've seen either in your experience or some of your students' experience? What things are the common challenges that people face?
I always say this in any form of business, people are the hardest thing, right? They're the biggest challenge because if business was just paperwork, we'd all be rock stars, right? People cause challenges in every form of business and especially with residential assisted living. And I don't mean the seniors necessarily. Usually the seniors are sweet as pie and they're fine. A lot of times it's the families, right? It's the families that come with them. They have these high expectations. There's a lot of emotions going on. They're guilty, they're mad, they're frustrated. They're paying a lot of money that they were not probably prepared to be paying at this point in life. And their loved one is no longer the person that they knew and that raised them. And there's just so much emotions involved. So the families are always difficult to deal with. I would say the caregivers, right? There's a huge caregiver shortage in our country, and that's always difficult finding and maintaining and keeping amazing care. So people at the end of the day is the tough thing.
That makes sense. What are some of the best parts of having an RAL home?
For me, I would say it's the impact. It's people being grateful and thankful for the housing that you're providing. You don't really find that in a lot of other forms of real estate investing. Like you can make money, but does it make you feel good? Like you're making an impact. So I would say that. And then to be honest, on the education side, I love sharing with people how to start, own, and operate their own business so that they can become financially free, so that they can give their kids the blessing my dad gave me, that they can literally choose to live life the way they want. That is the coolest thing. When I teach somebody, they get it, they go out and do it, and then they come back and they're like, I'm taking a 52-day cruise, or paid for my kids' college in full, or I bought my mom's home so she can stay there forever. Like, whatever the case is, it's so beautiful to help people get to that point too. So, a little bit of both.
Amazing. Running your RAL business and your academy, those are not even the only two things you do. You have so much stuff going on. It's so
Yes.
impressive. Just from doing a little research, you have your impact housing group,
Yeah.
residential assisted living academy, the Young Boss podcast. You've written 3 books and you're so young. And I'm probably missing some stuff. Can you just tell us a little bit about what you have going on and how you balance all your different business ventures and hopefully have a personal life sometimes?
Yes. Balance is a funny word because things are never in balance, right? Like, we're either overload in one area and lacking in another, but there's seasons. And I think that's the biggest thing that I've realized in life is that things come and go. It's not always going to be chaotic, right? It might be chaotic right now, but it won't always be. But I love the impact we've been able to have at the Residential Assisted Living Academy. From that, we launched the RAL National Convention, which is the only convention for smaller care home owners across the country. We launched the RAL National Association that represents all 30,000 group home owners. We've got legal backing and power, group discounts, free information and webinars to have that continuing education as you open your home and you need support and help along the way. And then last year, I started the Young Boss podcast because I love working with seniors and people in the real estate space, but I wasn't really connecting with many people who were my age or younger. And I would have a lot of younger people come to me, young entrepreneurs, and say, how do you do it? And did you feel imposter syndrome? And what are my first steps? And so I started the Young Boss podcast about almost a year and a half ago. It's been so much fun. All of our guests are 35 and under. They're founders, they're CEOs. And for me to get to learn and hear from them is just the best. And then being able to share that with our listeners and subscribers is so amazing. Their stories are inspirational. And occasionally we'll do solo episodes where I'll share some things I've learned from hiring and firing and all the crazy stuff that's happened over the years. So it's been really a lot of fun. And then yeah, the books, and I don't know what else. I just had a son 5 months ago, so
Oh my gosh, congratulations.
thank you. I definitely have a little semblance of a personal life. We like to travel a lot as a family together, so we have fun doing that, and my time with him is my favorite time of the day for sure.
That is amazing. Oh my gosh. I know that when I had my kids, learning how to rebalance everything was very challenging at first. So
Yes.
you look amazing and remarkably well rested for having a 5-month-old.
Thank
So
you.
that is
He's
amazing.
he's an angel. I'm blessed.
Okay, so you've worked with probably hundreds of entrepreneurs and interviewed so many entrepreneurs. Are there any character traits or characteristics that you've noticed among your successful entrepreneurs that you've worked with? Are there any kind of common traits that you found?
The number one thing that everybody has in common, no matter how old or young that they are, the people who are going to be successful, they have grit. They are willing to get punched in the face and get back up and do it again. And that is hard to find these days because our culture is very lazy and very, if you fail, okay, give up. That wasn't meant for you. That's the message that we're told these days. So to have people who are willing to continue to push forward, continue to keep going, even when someone told them no, even when someone said you can't, you shouldn't, you won't, that is the attribute of a successful person and a successful business owner, and specifically a successful RAL owner, because it is not easy to actually go through all these steps to get your home up and running. You've got to be willing to be told no and keep pushing forward.
I totally agree. And you yourself, you've been in business for a while now. You have several successful business ventures. What are some important lessons that you've learned along the way that stand out to you?
I think that you always have to be flexible as a business owner. The winds are going to change and you need to get innovative sometimes. I remember hearing a story about the guy who invented Hershey's, and during the World War, Hershey's were like going to go out of business and they needed because no one was buying luxurious things anymore and chocolate was considered a luxurious item. So he needed to find a way to innovate. And so they put almonds in Hershey's, and that's where the almond Hershey bar came up
No
because
way.
almonds have protein. So they could market themselves now as we're nutritious, we have protein and all this stuff. And so then Hershey's sales skyrocketed. And I think of that story all the time because our market changes so often. Every day there's a new thing coming up, and you have to be not shiny penny syndrome, but you have to really be able to like look at everything, suss out what's going to work and go for it, but be able to pivot all the time because being flexible is so important. Things are not the same yesterday as they're going to be tomorrow. And it's really tough when you get stuck in your ways.
Makes total sense. What does I know there might not be such a thing, but what does a normal day look like for you? What is your routine? How do you fit everything into your days? What systems or teams are helping make all this happen? I'm so curious.
I have a lot of amazing people around me. That is the only way I can possibly even accomplish half of the things I can accomplish. My team is absolutely incredible. And I even have a full, at this point, basically a full staff at home, right? We've got a nanny for the kid and house cleaners and all sorts of people that come over so that I can focus on what I need to focus on. And so that's a beautiful thing. Every day looks totally different, but it's either I'm traveling, speaking on the road about residential assisted living or empowering young bosses and professionals. I'm filming episodes of Young Boss or of Assisted Living Network, which is our assisted living podcast. If I'm doing a project, writing a book, or preparing for something, I'm spending time on the computer doing stuff like that. And then meetings. I'm in meetings like all day long. It feels like meetings, but talking to my staff and making sure that they have all the skills that they need to go do their jobs efficiently is always my number one priority. I think I don't spend much time like just chilling. Like the TV goes on the 5 minutes before I go to bed. That's what I get. I get 5 minutes of Bridgerton at night. It's not much, but it's enough. And that's what it is right now. Efficiency is everything. And like I said in the beginning, I'm just in a season right now where there's a lot of balls in the air and it's blessed. I'm blessed to have so many things going on. And I don't want to discount that for anything. Other people would dream of waking up and having their own business, dream of waking up and being able to have teams that support them and back them. And so I'm really grateful for the opportunities that I do have.
Yes, but it is a large responsibility also. I know
Yes.
it's got to be hard some days managing all those people, your baby, still carving out time for yourself, hopefully every once in a
Yes.
while, and your family. So you must I think you probably are just an incredible manager of people with all your various teams. Is there
Yeah.
anything that you've learned that's helped you become a good manager and able to manage so many different people?
I think that the biggest thing that I didn't even realize that I really did this. I don't know if I did it intentionally or it was just subconscious, but most of the positions within our company is because I got overloaded and I'm like, I can't do this anymore. So now I need to hire out for this position. So when I would hire someone on, I would hire someone who's better than me, someone who wants this job more than I do because I can't handle it anymore. And I would share with them, this is how it's being done, right? SOPs and trainuals and all this fun stuff of here's how the job is being done. But then I would make it very abundantly clear to them if I wanted you to just do this, I would have kept doing it myself. I'm not hiring you to just do this. I'm hiring you to make it your own, to take ownership of this and improve it and make it better. And I think that really gives everybody on my team a sense of empowerment and a sense of, oh, I'm going to own this. If she took it to level 5, like I need to take it to level 10. And so they almost want to like work harder than me in that sense, prove themselves in that sense, but also they love their jobs, they're invested in their jobs, and they have a lot of like empowerment and ownership of that. And so I think it's important that when you are hiring people for any job, that you're hiring people that you trust, that know better than you, because that's who's going to take it to the next level. And when they feel that from you, it really inspires them to work even harder.
And I can just sense from you, even in our short conversation, you seem, I think you have a very positive personality. It seems like you would lead with a lot of positivity, but
Mhm.
also be able to hold people accountable, which I think sometimes that is a really hard balance to strike, to lead
Yeah.
with positivity, but also be able to hold people accountable when it comes down to it.
Yeah, it is such a hard balance. I have been coined toxically positive, and I'll own it. I love being positive. I think that trait has gotten me through a lot of hard times, and I always will lean on the bright side of things. Everything is always cup overflowing, not even half full, because I can see it getting there. But I do think it can be tough when you're working with team because things aren't always positive. And so, how do you hold them accountable and how do you have that harsh and tough conversation with them? And I do keep things positive most of the time. And I think even in letting go conversations, a lot of times they do turn emotional because when people are so encouraged all the time to keep working hard and then they're missing the buck, they feel emotional about it themselves, right? Firing conversations are like going through the stages of grief,
Mhm.
right? People get angry, they deny, they're questioning, then they're blaming. It's literally the stages of grief. It's shocking. And it happens every single time you let somebody go, or a lot of times even have harsh accountability conversations with them. But I think having metrics in place is key. Every position should have a number that they're aiming for or a goal that they're aiming for. It can't be arbitrary, it has to be very objective and not emotional in that sense. And I'll do whatever I can to empower them. One big thing I'll always do is if somebody's seeming checked out or they're missing their mark, the first thing I'll do is call them and say, how am I failing you? What can I do to be better right now for you? The first call is never about them because I don't believe that they're failing. I believe I'm failing them. And if I can fix myself, they're going to want to fix themselves. And sometimes they'll say, I don't have the tools or I don't have the resources or I don't know how to do this. Okay, great. That's how I failed you. Let me fix that so you can go do better. If you're still failing, now we have a conversation about your responsibility in this. But the first key is always taking on where did I go wrong? What did I do? And how can I better support you? Let's fix this.
Where did you get that? Because I feel like that perspective, that extreme personal accountability is very rare. I completely agree with it. I have a similar philosophy, but I think it is pretty rare. I feel like you only learn that type of leadership in certain places, and I'm curious how you learned that.
I feel like this is such a silly thing, but it stuck with me so hard. I never had a dog growing up. We were not allowed to have pets. Like my parents are both allergic to fur. I think they just didn't want a dog at home. Okay. So the first time I got a dog, I'm like researching everything. Like, how do I parent this dog? How do I teach it to sit? What do I feed it? I'm just like researching. And one of the things I read was basically like, if your dog has an accident, it's your fault because you didn't notice and that they needed to go out and you didn't take them out and you didn't teach them. And all of a sudden, everything clicked for me. It was like, oh, when someone's learning and they mess up, it's your fault. You're the one in charge of them. And it literally, my dog taught me that lesson because
That is
it
amazing.
just, it made so much sense in business. And I was like, this is it. This is why people fail. And so every time my dog would have an accident, and maybe my partner or something would be like, oh, they had an accident. I'm like, it's our fault. Don't get mad at the dog. Like, it's our fault. And I felt like I just took that into business and it's actually worked really well.
Oh my gosh, that is incredible. It's you are spot on. And I remember I once listened to a podcast with a dog trainer. And yes, there's so many of the principles of dog training do apply to business and leadership. And then of course, when you become a parent, it just becomes even that much more obvious when you're trying to parent and lead your kids. What do you have coming up or what are you working on that you are really excited about right now?
We have our national convention for residential assisted living coming up in the fall. It is October 3rd through 5th, and we work all year long to get prepared for that. I'm really excited. This year, our special guests are Kim Kiyosaki and Ed Milet. It's going to be
Wow.
an amazing event. I'm so stoked. That's the big one that we're all hands on deck right now for.
Awesome. If someone's interested in attending that, how can they come or how can they learn more about it?
Yeah, you can go to ralnationalconvention.com and you can get tickets and get registered to come. It's going to be awesome.
What are some of your favorite resources, either favorite books, favorite podcasts, movies, TV shows, anything that has like really stuck with you that has helped or inspired you in some way?
I think that some of my favorite resources would be my favorite book is The 5 a.m. Club. I don't know, have you read that one?
Yes.
I like that
I am
book.
I'm attempting every day. I'm doing good right now to be in the 5 a.m. club.
It's just attempting, right? But I love that. I think that's just, to me, the lesson I gained from it is actually not the time you wake up, but it's more doing the important things first and getting your head in the right place to start the day. And I think that's super important. Love that book. I think as far as other resources, I'm always trying to get as much info as I can from other people. And one of the best ways that I do that is by going to masterminds and being surrounded by other business owners and professionals. So I'm like a big mastermind girl right now. I'm in like two masterminds that I really love, and connecting with other people. There's just nothing like that. And although I may seem quite social, I'm actually pretty reserved in a large group setting. So it can be scary to go to events like that. But when you make that one connection that gives you that idea that sparks what you needed, that was worth it. That was worth it in gold.
So cool. Since you mentioned it, can you tell us a little bit about your morning routine, or what are the things that you're prioritizing in the morning to get your headspace set for the day and take care of yourself?
For me, I am such a workout queen. It used to be workout classes before my little baby boy, and now that's impossible. So I am on that Peloton pretty much every single morning, doing like whatever little weights and stuff I can in the house before he's up. And I think it's just like that little morning routine where you go, you get your coffee. For me, I let the dog out. I get on the bike, I get to exercise and just get in a good headspace, shower, get ready for the day, and then go wake him up and see that big smile. Every morning when I am home, I get to spend typically an hour or two with my son in the morning, and that just sets the day to me in the exact right space. I make a really intentional decision to just put my phone away while I'm with him. And I've never done that for anyone or anything before. So I really hope that I can keep it up because I want to be a very present parent for him. And that really just sets my day off right. Then I go down and I just get to work, whatever we're doing. If it's off to a shoot or on a meeting or on a podcast, that's what we do, whatever the day holds.
Cool. Is there anything that you believe or that you think is true that most people don't agree with you about?
Get weird, right? I
Sure,
don't think
yes.
I don't think we've been to the moon.
I am very suspicious of that as well.
That has been my conspiracy from high school. Once I saw they showed us the footage, I was like, this is fake. And then I
How
didn't
are we
even know
making this
that
phone
was,
call? Like,
I didn't even know that was like a thing that people thought was fake back in high school. Now conspiracy theories are all the rage and you can go down the rabbit hole quick. But I'll also say, like, on a more maybe like spiritual level or something like that, I really believe in the power of grounding, actually. Like every day I do try to go outside and stand in my grass and put my feet on bare earth. And every time I get a chance to, I try to spend as much time outside as possible. So I'll try to take meetings outside. I'll try to take my phone calls walking around outside. I really believe in just the power of the sun, the energy of the earth coming through us, and grounding and sunshine is the key to happiness, I believe.
oh, I totally agree. And you know what really made me believe it was having my babies. And when they would be upset and it's hard to calm them down, you take them outside with your
Boom.
food bear, and 9 times out of 10, it would calm them down.
Every time I take them outside, calm.
It's crazy. There's
Crazy.
only two solutions: going outside barefoot or putting them in water in the bath. That was like when they're inconsolable.
There you go. It's the elements, right? It's the earth,
Yes,
it's the water. That's what they need.
it totally is. Okay, tell us a little bit about where can people get a hold of you? I know that a lot of my listeners are going to be so interested in learning more about RAL. I know that a lot of them would be interested in the training that you have going on and coming up. How can people learn more about you, get a hold of you or your team? I know they want to know.
Yes, we are on all social media platforms at RAL Academy. And if you want to connect with me or the team, you can go to ral101.com. You can download a free book, get a webinar, or schedule a call right there. And we're happy to chat with you anytime.
That is amazing. I know that you are a very busy woman, so I don't want to take up any more of your time. And thank you so much for making the time to come on the podcast. I know that my audience will get so much value out of this because, like I said, not very many people know about RAL, but thanks to you, the word is getting out.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
We'll have an amazing weekend. Thanks again to Isabel for coming on the podcast. What an incredible interview. I know that we all learned a ton. And thank you so much for listening today. This podcast is made possible by Doratus Properties, or My Real Job. Doratus is a real estate investment firm in Alabama, and if you are a real estate professional located in or around the Birmingham, Mobile, or Baldwin County areas, we would absolutely love to connect and work with you. Despite the crazy interest rates, we are always looking for properties to buy, and we always want to expand our network of business partners. Send me an email at maura@doratusproperties.com or fill out any of the forms on our website, doratusproperties.com, so that we can connect. Right now, we are actively looking for more properties to flip and add to our rental portfolio, so make sure to keep us in mind. This concludes today's episode. Thank you so much for listening. Come back next week to learn all about land banking with our guest, Brad Warren. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure that you are subscribed to the podcast and leave us a rating and review. We are a new and growing podcast, so every rating, review, and share helps immensely. Also, make sure that you're following us on YouTube and social media. You'll get a lot more behind the scenes and content there daily. See you in the next one.